Yeah. Okay, this is the second meeting, or I should say the third, but the second meeting of the tech team that's working on the Shitlords project. The only people here are myself and Dave Sidious, also known as Boris, for some goddamn reason.
Yep.
And I think I'm screen sharing here. I'm not sure. Let me go check the other channel. Yeah, I'm a screen sharing here. I'm not sure. Just a second here.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a screen. There. Okay, so I am screen sharing this. It's probably going to be fuzzy to anybody who watches it, but Dave's did some work. He's put together a relational chart. What software did you use for this, Dave?
This is unfortunately a paid-for software called DB Forge Studio for MySQL.
Okay.
It's live though, so what you do is you set your database up down the side, and you create a diagram at the same time as building your database.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool.
It's very useful. Bloody expensive, but yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's probably not bank-breakingly expensive if you're into development, but yeah, it's not a bad piece of software.
Yeah. Let's go to the article that I was presented to the group today, and let me find it here real quick.
Okay.
Just kind of go through this and get your thoughts. I've talked to, I would say, Frozen Binary Studio. She can't make it, so she said that you know, she thinks that we ought to go ahead, you know, and start within the next couple of weeks getting to the point where we can do data entry, even if it's ugly as shit. But,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. All right. So let me go here. Sure, I should have had this ready, but. And then I will present. Okay, are you seeing that, Dave?
Bear with me. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay. I'll present to everyone. All right, and get back to it. So I'll just read it real quick. I think it was on the 11th that I posted proposed features and requirements by fork and a so-called Tom Sequitur fork on the Great Hall site. And I hadn't received any feedback as of today on that or any competing proposals, but now I do see that Dave brought one today.
It's not really a proposal. That's why I sort of didn't post it on Great Hall yet. I've been quite busy, so I sort of did that in between work.
Okay. So the question is, should I take it that people are comfortable with my fork, or they're too busy to respond, or are they waiting for it to be completed before contributing their ideas, or what exactly? I think it's a combination of all of those things, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm convinced at this point that we need to get the basic research tool up and running from the original video, and here's why. No matter what this final site looks like, we all agree that we want listings and a research tool. I mean, I haven't heard anybody say any different. Have you, Dave?
I haven't, but then, I mean, not that many people seem to be chatting on the page. I mean, I tried to get that discussion going the other day about features, but it was only you that came back to me. So,
right. Well, I do get private messages from Still and Fire on this, and she said, you know, she started on it. She's going to do things a little bit different, and I really don't care because, you know, I'm just throwing out a proposal. People are free to work on it on their own servers, whatever. And, we'll let merit decide which way we go. But if we're all on the same page, let's try to work together. If we have a legitimate difference of opinion, let's start a different fork and work on both of those. And I know that sounds stupid when we don't have a lot of volunteers, but in coding wise, but when you have one coder that's motivated to get it done so that you have a starting data set to work with, let's do that, in my opinion. On the other hand, I can't force anybody to not do something, and I can't force anybody to do something. So yeah, you have to keep that in mind.
I think it's all about interest. I mean, if people are interested, they'll be the ones that come to this. I mean, you don't really have to get them if they're interested. Right,
exactly. And so, even if we suggest that, or even if we come to the conclusion, Dave, that, your schema is a better design than the one that I have later on, or vice versa, I really don't care. Just as long as we get data entry going at this point, so because we can fucking do a data conversion. I mean, that's fucking piece of cake, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
My only concern with the project I've gone and read through your prototype as much as I could over the past couple of days. My only issue with it is the open source part. I'm slightly confused over that. Is that just for the build stage, or are you going to open source this from, forevermore?
All the code should be open source. As far as the data goes, the only thing that I'm really saying that we share is the sources table. In other words, if you were familiar with academic research, not the articles, we're not going to share the articles because we don't hold the copyright. But for our people that enter the title of the video or the title of the article, the publisher, what YouTube channel it was on, or whatever, the URL, whoever puts that information in is doing that on a Creative Commons contribution basis, and that we should make that immediately available to the public, because we're not trying to make money on this. What we're trying to do is create, in my mind, a research tool. If somebody comes out with a better interface to deal with this data, great, fucking A, take over. you know what I'm saying? So the basic source data for the articles, yeah, I think that needs to go out right away. That way the people that are inputting the data, at least they can get the benefit of getting everybody else's contribution back right away in a comma separated file, if nothing else. Follow me?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
My concern over open source is purely that this whole thing works if you have users. And if we do all of this work to get this tool online, and then anyone can go and download that tool and install it wherever they want, surely that's diluting our own, well, let's call it a market. I know it's not a market. We're not doing it for profit.
Right.
But it's a dilution of the number of people who are going to need to use our own source. They can just take it away, install their own, and start inputting their own data without any interaction with us. So we lose data input.
If it's copy left though, and they decide to do that, and they're doing a better job, well, we can just sit on our asses, let them do it, and then come back and get you know what I'm saying? So there's not really a good incentive for people to do that unless they're really going to do something very special with it, or we become tyrants, and we can become tyrants. So I don't want to build something that locks people out. That's what YouTube does, that, you know, that's what Google does, that's what Microsoft does. I don't want it somewhere down the road. If we copyright instead of copy left, somebody will take control of this organization, this content, and you know, put a lockdown on it. And do you really want that? That's kind of been my concern from the start.
I don't know if that's the inevitable end game there. I mean, because I mean, you've got a group of skeptics together, and it's. I just feel it would be less likely for us to all turn into tyrants at one time and start acting like assholes with no empirical evidence. I mean, that goes against the grain, really. Yeah, I mean, I get where you're coming from totally, and open source is a nice ideal. I'm just concerned that, you know, a lot of people are going to invest time into building it, and then it would just take one Steve Jobs to come along, take the whole thing, and start making money on it. And
they can't. That's the. I mean, they could make money on it, but the incentive is so low. And it's copy left. So if they make a better service, so what? They'll be licensed to. They'll be required to leave their code open to us and the data set open to us that they create off of what we've done. And so what is their incentive? They'll face the same non-incentive that we face. You know, how much effort are they going to put into it if we can come along after what they've done and just take it right back? You see what I'm saying?
We can take it right back, really. Because if they take it, they can just take it. They don't have to fork it. They can just take the code and run.
You're saying and try to copyright it, and we'd be in a legal battle of some sort?
Yeah, none of us can be bothered with that.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, no, at that point we'd have to be, you know, a mini Mozilla with some resources to actually fight that in court. Yeah. Well, I understand your concern. I don't know what to tell you other than, I mean, look at all these successful open source projects out there. We've got Thunderbird, Firefox, Wikipedia, you know.
I think it really depends on how you see this being at the end of it. And as I don't have a clear picture in my mind how you see it being, I'm seeing it as a resource that has to be sort of a value-added thing, and we're putting quite a bit of time into making it special and a bit different. And I kind of feel it's a little bit like giving everything away. I don't know. I'm not really an open source sort of guy, but
yeah. Well, if you bring it into that we hold the copyright to it, we have to have formed an organization or at least a partnership agreement for all the participants, and we all have to agree on those terms before we can really get going.
I wasn't thinking about anything that heavy-handed.
Well, somebody's going to feel like they get burnt, right? You're not going to have legal standing if you've contributed and there's no agreement. I mean, you're going to have very little legal standing.
Well, we don't really have legal standing with open source. We're like an individual within this group is going to stand up and go, well, this is all mine, I'm taking it back.
Right.
They don't have that power either. So by having it, so we're not hosting it on GitHub, or we're hosting it on a local server that's accessible to everyone in the group, that seems just as fair as open sourcing it.
Well, we'll have to put it to the, I guess, the membership and have a general vote on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll work on it either way. It doesn't bother me in that respect. I just want us to be insulated from problems in the future, not dissing the moral message of open source.
Well, I don't know all the ramifications. I don't know all the ramifications for open source or copyright. I mean, I'm just one fellow, so I guess what we ought to do is tap into the organization's experience on that question, um, in the sense that for the time being, though, I would suggest that uh, we have to have a way to, or I feel that we have to have a way to reward the people that are doing the data entry. I know that the coders are going to have special interests, but say I've asked you to go back through, I don't know, Karen Strawn's catalog and go and enter in all of her videos into this database and enter in all of the sources that she cites into this database. Mm-hmm. Take thumbnail pictures of it and download PDFs for archival purposes. If I've asked you to do all of that, why in the hell would you do it if you're not going to know that you have a guarantee of access to everybody else's work? So at least I guess we could set it up to at least until further notice, everybody up to, I don't know, maybe we'll select the channels that we're going to do at first, how many channels those are, up until July 1st, 2016, going back through all of their videos that we're all going to share and share alike in those entries. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah, I mean, you just take a list and split them between a few people. Like, goes quicker if everyone's doing it.
Yep. But why would you do it if you don't? I mean, I guess you assume that you're going to have access to the data, and we're going to be nice folk.
Yeah, but I mean, I would suggest almost a published agreement that we say very clearly on the first page of the site almost, and make it as apparent as possible that we are here for the data and for being rational, and we're not going to just run away with this data, and we're not going to start charging people for this data, etc., etc. An agreement with the general public. I am concerned, though, that people aren't going to be that enthused about scanning through tons and tons of videos without any sort of return.
Exactly.
But that's almost a good reason to try and find some way to monetize it without being harsh to anyone.
Yeah.
You know, donations, Patreon, any number of the sort of more hippie donation methods.
Yeah.
You know, would be good because you could actually start giving people real money, which at the end of the day makes the world go round.
Well, that's a good idea that we would open up a Patreon for the organization or a PayPal account administered by somebody, you know, some official member of the organization.
And I mean, in the future, you could technically get advertising on there. You'd have to be really, really particular about the people you advertised on the website because, well, a bunch of skeptics get together. They're going to have some strong opinions.
Yeah.
And it's a tricky thing to monetize when you're trying to do something that's positive like that.
Yeah, I don't kind of my idea, and I'm not locked into this, but I had this idea that you have basically 4 feeds, and I think you mentioned, well, that's going to be tough on a mobile. Okay, so maybe on the mobile you can look at 1 feed at a time, but one of the feeds is the sponsored feed. So people that have earned membership points by doing data entry can sell their membership points to a third party. We don't give a shit who it is. And they simply get a listing in that sponsored fucking feed. That's it. I mean, all of the advertising is in that feed, and maybe we track impressions, maybe we track clicks or whatever to reduce those membership points. But you know, that leaves us out of a whole bunch of accounting issues because we never handle money. So we never distribute money, but the money is exchanged between whoever did the data entry and whoever wants those membership points so they can get into that sponsored feed.
Mm.
If you go the more traditional route, then you end up, I don't know if you've seen Rob Van Mecklen's latest video. YouTube has this thing. If you have unfriendly content, unfriendly in terms of advertising, they demonetize your content.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, which is so lame.
Right.
So Google, just Googling.
So I just think we have to take, from the organization standpoint, you know, a less traveled, a less a beholding to funding approaches we can feasibly do and still have enough money to get this thing done.
Yeah,
We can always change it later. I mean, you know, if it turns out that the organization is looking at this, people are coming in, they want to do some more vigorous advertising and it looks good, then we can go with that and produce it. But that's an argument, I say, and a road down towards, you know, our content being controlled by what the advertisers say. And we don't want that. So another reason for it to be open sourced, because we could allow that advertising to go on. And if we got, if our organization decided to get too advertiser friendly instead of free speech friendly, then somebody could come in and pick up where we left off and just, you know, walk away with a great tool and a great set of data to help free speech survive advertising interests.
yeah, yeah. Patreon or PayPal is definitely a better way to go than advertising, in my head.
Yeah.
But it's almost why I came up with those value-added features that I posted about, because if you've got those, you can almost have it so the base functionality of the site, which is the core of it, which is what you were saying you wanted to begin with, that's all free and available to everyone. But things like the timeline functionality and et cetera, would be behind not a paywall, but, you know, if you up your membership, you know, like, I don't know whether you know, torrent sites do it. You pay, you know, $10 and you get, you know, a month worth of download.
Yeah. Yeah, I could go with that. I think, yeah, like that timeline tool would be a really cool one for
Also, I think graphs as well.
a paid, you're talking about a paid membership access level.
Yeah.
You get the same underlying data, but you get these graphical tools that you wouldn't otherwise be able to see for a nominal fee.
Yeah.
And we charge it instead of maybe by the month, a year or whatever, so that, you know, you're not constantly dickering with it. But I don't know, that would be more up to the management to decide, you know, what's the best price point and all that for that. But yeah, I agree. That could be a good way to help fund it.
And then you could almost pay people who work as admins based upon their input to the payable systems. So if the system pays us, then they get paid. But if the system doesn't pay us, then they won't. But it's in their best interests to help all of the system. Yeah,
I agree. And I would like to, and I think we have to get to the point where we do have really competent tech security and programmers on staff to deal with issues and hackers.
Yep.
Right? I mean,
we're bound to get DDoSed by feminists. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
we're speaking the truth, and they don't like that.
Yeah.
So,
and so, yeah, I think we've got to come up with funds, a way to fund this thing later on. But presently, we've got to come up with a way to get volunteers to do the work and we've got to decide that soon because of the database. If the database that Still and Fire is working on and the interface for that, she's told me is going to be ugly as shit, but the front end team can pretty that up as quickly as possible. And we'll start getting data entry, hopefully very soon. But before we actually let people do the data entry, we have to settle on a, what can they expect as the reward? And I think it has to be some kind of membership points. It doesn't necessarily have to be.
Sorry. Don't want to cut you short. I've just quickly got to run to the front door.
Oh, okay.
I won't be a moment. Cheers. Hello.
I'm still here.
Yeah, sorry about that. Food arrived. Right. Okay, you were saying advertising credits.
Yeah, we have to decide within the next, I think, couple of weeks how the initial data entry is going to be rewarded. And we can specify that this is initial data entry. It's for the time being until further notice. But personally, I have trust issues, and I want the data set back to me in a comma separated file so that the project can go on. If Still on Fire, I don't know, has some sort of issue or gets hacked or gets thrown in jail, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And this is in a password protected MySQL database on her server, that is going to destroy everything that we've done. It'll just completely undermine it. So if we entrust this comma separated file to certain members, I guess I could live with that, but it's got to come back out.
What about an automated database backup to, say, 2 different locations?
Yeah, that would work too, as long as we had as long as I had control on it. That would for one of those sets, that would make me feel better, because then I could write it out to a common separated file myself. Mm-hmm. And at least one other person who's picked on, or who's selected, or maybe anybody that's got a site and that wants to do it, at least for now, until we get to the further notice point.
Yeah. Well, I wonder whether initially, I don't know if you've heard of Roberts Space Industries. You heard of them?
No.
It's the guy that made Wing Commander, the game.
Oh, okay.
And he crowdfunded a new game, because he said, the PC isn't dead, it's still better. And what he did was, when you crowdfunded initially, which is basically what these people who are inputting data are helping to do, is to establish the project.
Yes.
He gave them like a pack that said, okay, well, when this site launches, you'll get X. And the more that you gave, and the more that you give of your time to the project, the more of these little packs you get. So as soon as the site goes fully live, you'll get a pack full of 1,000 credits and a ship and a thing, and
Right. That's like that's exactly what I call membership points. And you get a membership, a certain set of membership points for every entry that you do.
Yeah.
And you know, and we can't say, I think we can't promise, you know, how you'll be able to spend those membership points, but you know, at least these are how they're earned, and you know how many you're collecting, and you know that at least you'll be able to list content in the sponsored area of the site using those membership points.
Yeah.
I don't think anything's objectionable about that. It might be that we need to do more, but I don't think there's anything objectionable with that.
I don't really know if there's anything more we can do at this stage anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you don't know the functionality in the future, you can't really say, we'll give you this functionality we don't know about.
Exactly. All you can do is say, compared to others that contribute, if you've did 500 listings and they've did one, you're going to have 500 times the amount of capital, so to speak, you know?
Yeah.
So that seems fair to me. What's not fair? It's not fair to the coders. But honestly, from the coder's perspective, if I had this ability to code this myself, and I don't, I could on my own computer, but I can't do it over the internet. I don't have that level of technical expertise, but I could do it on my own system. Just great. And I would just be tickled pink with being able to use the data set that was created.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's all I need. But if you give me that plus these membership points that can be used for the sponsored feed, I mean, that seems like a pretty good deal.
But I mean, being an admin, you don't really need advertising points. You just go, I'll put my advert there.
Yeah, I would not do that though, and I would not support that. Only if I did it all myself.
Yeah. I think maybe allow everyone who contributes to advertise directly on their own page with a big banner or something as well, like a profile page. Almost.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because I almost feel like we should try and at least move people away from YouTube, because I know that Dailymotion, that's got a great copyright policy, which is we don't give a shit. So they don't, from what I can tell, I mean, I can get entire series of shows on Dailymotion and they don't care. So I doubt they'll bow to social justice warriors. Hello?
Yeah, let's. I was just writing that down, Dave. Let's do this, okay? See if you have a problem with this. The people that are coding in the project will get a page to basically tout their own contributions in and links to wherever they want, and this will come off the main page. The list of contributors.
I also came up ages ago. It was a site that never got published, and it was a ranking system. You know how they do on forums, where the more you post, the different rank changes. But this one was based upon the evolution of man, and you went from the lowest form of life on Earth at year dot right the way up to human, and that might be quite nice as well. Some sort of structured hierarchical system where the more you contribute, the better you rank.
Yep. Yeah, and that's going to be kind of the harder part of it, because we're going to have to ask somebody to judge that, aren't we? I mean, I don't mind that we do it, but it may cause some hurt feelings. But
in what respect? If it's just about input, or are you talking about my specific?
No. So like, say I rank X higher than Y, and Y feels like they've did more work because they worked more hours, but I'm looking at like from the perspective, yeah, you worked a lot more hours, but we didn't use any of your shit. You know what I'm saying? And so,
yeah. I don't think it should be for the development stage. I think this is for a live site. So it's purely about once you become a user. I separate the coding of the site from actually using the site when it's finished. And my
Right.
contribution to that will be totally separate to any contribution I'm making graphics or programming.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
so once you start, it's not going to matter. It's whoever does the most.
Yep. Yep. I got you. Yeah. It'll be things that we can measure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm fine with that.
Could even have badges. So if they were a developer, they'd have a little developer badge next to their name.
All right. So I guess my final question that I wanted to get out to you and the rest of the tech team and the rest of the membership and whoever's interested in this project, even if, we're working on my fork right now, even if I decide that we're going to go with a different schema or Steel and Fire won't implement it. Do we have enough buy-in that we want to, even if we're kind of pissed off that it didn't go our way, are we going to have enough buy-in at this time to go ahead and help get this through the prototype stage? And then can we come back and review, the schema and all of that stuff, all of the pages that we have to develop, and make sure that the graphically, are consistent, because they may be fucking, if we've got different people working on different pages, they may start off crazy. But do we have enough buy-in that people are willing to work on different pages? I mean, we're going to have a membership login page, a data entry page, a SQL query page, a project page. I mean, do we have enough buy-in that we're willing to have this clusterfuck of styles and whatnot? And we're going to go ahead and work with the schema that we've just ended up with and go forward, and then kind of, once we get to that stage, then sit down as a group and then really finalize a lot of this stuff? Or do we need to finalize more before we go forward?
Well, I would say that you can start inputting data. I wouldn't say that's a problem. As long as the data is usable data, we can add to that data after the fact with more functionality, whatever. But I mean, for this stage, you could almost get one person building the prototype, because if it's just for data input, you can do some very simple text file based logins. It's not the most secure thing in the world, but we're only having 47 people accessing it at most.
Right.
It'll be on a private server that only we'll have access to at this stage, I would imagine. So I don't think developing the prototype like that would be very coherent. I think a lot of people would have different ideas about how a page should be structured, especially in PHP, where there's 1,000 different ways to do one thing. Yeah. I think having one person build it, and the rule for that person should be keep it as simple as possible. Even make it, ugly as shit. It doesn't matter. As long as the data gets inputted into the database, and we gather everything we need to at that stage, we're generating data for the final project.
Exactly.
Because I know you can use htaccess to control logins. So you could just use that, either query a database and grab a username and password, salt it in a database, or you could almost even have no login. I mean, it's dangerous, but it's not that bad for 47 people who aren't really going to go, hey, check out what I've got. Look at this thing.
Yeah.
Well, look how interesting this load of research data is. I don't think people are going to fuck with that for no reason. And
I think the only reason that I suggest taking a little bit farther is we need to kind of track, or I want to track, who puts in the data, each record, as far as the source articles go, so that we can reward those persons with preset membership points
Yeah.
So, you know, and then that's the end of it for stage one, basically. Yeah.
I could probably build something to input into a simple database in an evening. It's not like web based. That's pretty straightforward. You can even use an off the shelf $3.99 auto CRUD system that allows you to do the create, read, update, delete functions already. You just download that as a package, bolt it on. You don't have to use it at the end of the day. You can just use it for the prototype.
Yep. Yeah. So that just kind of depends on you whether you want to wait for Steel and Fire to see what she's done, and or if you want, you could start on it now. But you know, it might be some wasted work. It's just kind of, you might want to contact Steel and Fire and see where she's at.
What I might do is prototype it. So don't even build it. Don't do any code. I'll just make a graphical representation of the site and mock up the pages and make a mind map that sits behind those pages, so we know how the structure of the site will be in the final.
And that would be great. And if you and Steel and Fire, just the two of you, so there's not too many cooks in the kitchen, can see if you guys can work together somehow. So yeah, that would be great. So we can get to the prototype stage, and then that is really going to build, because once we can get like, you know, I don't know, Skeptor, anybody coming in there and like, Jesus Christ, this is a pretty goddamn good database. I can find all of my fucking articles that I've ever referenced. I can search for them. Fuck, this is awesome. Shit, I can do this for, goddamn it, I remember, you know, so-and-so doing an article, but I can't, and it was about this, but I can't find it. So he'd log in and he'd start using the system. And then once that happens, I think this wheel just starts, it's got its motion going, and it can't stop.
Yeah. My only thought about the system is we just had it while you were saying it then. When you input an article or a research piece, we're not self-hosting that. So we're never going to be able to do a full text search on that data.
No, we're going to have to put in tags, and yeah, we won't be able to. Somebody, you know, suggested that we do download the entire text, and according to the DMC articles that I've read and the court cases that I've read on it, if you store but don't make access to the whole article, you can store all of this on your server for research purposes. But that would be not in stage one. That would be a further stage, because wouldn't you want a legal team to just make sure that that's
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Right.
I would also say that certain places, like if it's a university study, may be okay with us hosting it because they're all about sharing data.
Right.
So if we find the ones that are okay with it, we can then almost start that process early, because you don't want to be on the back foot having to download a shitload of research data and scan through it. That would be a pain in the ass.
No, but we would just open that function up for more membership points and start a drive for it.
Yeah.
But we would have, I am asking that people that download or put in articles that other people mention to print that to a PDF and upload it to our site, and we'll have it. And it will be named, or, you know, I don't think that you should put it in a database, but maybe database technology is good for this nowadays, where you can put a PDF or a graphic in it or whatever. But
I would never advise saving files in a database, because if you lose your database, you lose all your files.
Right. So
that file system would be perfectly fine for that, I think.
So the PDFs not accessible to the public, But we would have them for the purposes of our people going back, and maybe somebody could even write a PDF scraper to scrape all the fucking text out of the articles.
Definitely.
Yeah, and that is going to be my suggestion, is that the article, the PDF, be the same name as the source ID for that. You know, the indexed, the auto incremented number. So the PDF matches the article, so you can quickly, from the file name of the PDF, figure out which article to update with that text.
I would say if we can automate it, you could have it so you use an upload form on the site to post the PDF. It gets automatically named based upon your input.
Yes.
Ever expanding drop down boxes of places that do research. So you can go, right, it's from them, it's this, it was published on this date. Automatically names and files that correctly. But it'll be trickier, but not impossible, to parse that PDF automatically, convert it into HTML or plain text, so it can be searched fully and then referenced and linked based upon the page it's on the remote website it's hosted on.
Yep.
Because you can link to specific pages in a PDF.
And another way to do it, I mean, if it's easier for the programmers, is we will have the URLs, so we would only have to manually go to the PDFs if the URL was dead. So if it's easier to scrape it off the web page.
But it'll always be faster to do that.
Yeah.
You would need to hold the text in the database for a full text search like that, though, because file text in files is going to be harder to search.
Yep. Yep. So, you know, however, I'm open either way. I do want to grab the article at the time being for a couple of reasons. One is for quality of input, to make sure that people that are doing this are serious and they're categorizing it right, and easy for staff, if we have later, to go in there and double check.
I'd almost be building, for people who want to be moderators on the site, I'd be building a bit like you get on games, a little tutorial level. Before they even start moderating anything, you pre-moderate something how you want it to be moderated, and you record your steps and exactly what you did. And if they manage to hit X number of targets within what you did, they've passed and they can continue.
Yeah, there you go. That would be awesome.
Probably be pretty straightforward. I can see that being a nice visual thing in, nice JavaScript transitions and, a bit of that. But, or even a video would be the simplest way to do it.
Yep.
Just explaining what we expect from people when they're moderating.
Exactly. What I am planning to do a short video, short as possible, on I mean, anybody can do it, but somebody will do a video. If not somebody that's good at it, I'll do it, explaining how the data entry goes, because some people are better visually learning, and I'll do a document that tells you step by step. And those will be driven by what the tech team comes up with. So if they require, hey, we can't do picture conversions now, but we're going to do them later, so don't worry about it. You can just send up any picture size, and that's fine. I think that we should have a minimum resolution for these pictures, because I want a thumbnail of the article, or a frame of the video, or a title page of the video, basically. And I think that should be a high definition graphic, 720p or something.
Yeah, well, a PHP has the ability to upload and resize built into it. You've got the GD image library and things like that, and you just create a new class of it and say resize this picture, and it does it for you.
Yeah. So you want the big picture because you want the clearest resolution that you can have at the big size, but then you want the code to downsize it. And create, maybe even convert it to a format that you like. I don't know, but
Yeah. Well, I always convert to the smallest possible, because if you're hosting a lot of imagery, thumbnails don't need to be that high res. And really, the web's so advanced nowadays. Images, no matter how big they are all right. People are hosting videos and files; they're far bigger.
So I think we've covered everything that I really needed to get out of this. Is there anything that you need to cover?
I did think of something about 10 minutes ago, but I thought, yeah, I put it to the back of my mind, and now I've totally forgotten it.
Let's just go through I'm just looking at the Etherpad thing, looking through the old business really quick. We still don't have a collaborative ER diagram tool. You're using a paid one, which is what we have to work with now. I'm using fucking a word processor.
Yeah. I haven't been able to find a single one that that was free, that was any good.
Yeah. If anybody knows of a good collaborative ER diagram tool, hey, get DM me or Dave a fucking message and we'll take a look at it. I wanted to cover, I don't think we have enough of a quorum here to decide. I wanted to decide if I could start pulling those issues off of the Discord server and moving them to the Great Hall org wiki, and whether or not we should move the technical issues to GitHub. Because we don't have a quorum, I'm just going to say we basically need to put those on hold still. A front end besides the simple ugly interface that we're going forward with. Maybe somebody suggested Joomla last time. Yeah, so that, I think that's still fine. If somebody knows that system or any other system, the content management system that would work good for that, that shouldn't slow down our data entry, because we should be able to do a data conversion to work with that CMS. I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah.
Right now for hosting, go ahead. I'm sorry, Dave.
No, you carry on.
Okay. Right now for hosting, we're just using Steel and Fire. She's the one trying to put together an ugly thing. Dave, I understand, is going to try to contact her, see if he's going to do something on his own or work with her to help get stage 1 completed. As much as Dave can, and Still and Fire can, we can't rely on them to get everything done, but they're going to start working together, hopefully.
Oh, I did a quick domain search, because I thought, we're going to have to think about marketing and identity at some point in time as well.
Yes.
And I found I was looking around the word skeptic, because it's a nice open word, nice and short.
Yes.
Pretty much every variant of the word skeptic is taken, apart from skeptic with K's instead of C's. And you can get skeptic.info. I don't know if you can see it on my screen there.
Yeah, I can, and it's broadcasting too. So yeah.
Unless we can come up with a nice snappy name we can find a domain for, we've got to sort of start coming up with a brand and an identity to go with that style, because it'll inform what style of website you're making.
Yeah, if you want to grab that domain name now, you can. If you want me to grab it, I will go ahead and do it. I think that's a good one that we can move everything to.
Yeah. Let me just see. I'll double check that it's still available. I don't want it gone, because I always get concerned that when you search for domains, they go, well, actually, that's quite a good domain. I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Let's just check. Yes, available.
Well, it's up to you, Dave. It's your idea. If you want to grab it, I think it's a good name. Grab it, and I will pay you for it if the group uses it.
Yep.
Or I can grab it and I can transfer it to you if the group doesn't use it.
Yeah, I was just thinking if I set it up, I can set up hosting and everything for it, and give you access so you can use it at your leisure.
I think maybe that's a good idea because you know, that'll give you the kind of a platform for you to present your idea on, if nothing else, and then you can just move it off to something else if the group takes it. But I think that's a really good name. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. As a British person, I really dislike spelling things badly. It's one of the only things I could find.
Yeah, otherwise we're going to have this big long ass name. You can't even get fucking acronyms anymore.
No, and info is quite a good extension for this website as well, because it is all about information.
I think so too.
Okay. I'll purchase that and set up hosting. It should be live in about an hour or so, I would say, because infos, I think they publish quite quickly.
Okay.
The DNS will have to update, but the control panel will be live quite quickly.
Sure.
So yeah, I'll get on with that, and I'll also communicate with Steel and Fire. If I give her access to that, it means that the development's done in a more central place that everyone can get access to when they need to.
Yep. If you know, you guys work that out between the two of you, and just cooperate as much as possible. You guys might have different ideas. I don't want to. If you guys can figure out how to do it, and say she wants to do it on her own server and she's doing most of the work, I guess let her. If you're going to end up saying, hey, you don't have time right now, I'm going to do most of the work, I want to do it on my server, she should bow to that. And if you guys need a kind of a tiebreaker, go ahead and get with me and I'll work it out. But I think you guys are both reasonable. So
I'm naturally very flexible when it comes to the order of play, especially working in a team. I'm not going to impose my will upon her. I'm a white cis male. I can't get away with that.
Yeah. So yeah, that looks good. And I'm getting, my hair is rising on my arms here because I feel like we're getting really close to the point where we're going to be able to enter data. I can go out to these big YouTubers that have been bugging me and saying, hey, when am I going to be able to, look at this? And I say, hey, it's a little bit ugly, but here it is. Let's get some volunteers out of your fan base to come over here and start entering in all the articles that you cited in all of your videos. Let's get her done.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All right. With that, let me go back to the. I don't see anything else here in the old business that we need to address. Dave, you said you could do backups regularly. We all agree that we need to back up this thing, and I do want to have a copy of the database because I do want to move it to CSV for my own purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So other than that, I think we've got kind of my outline of the prototype stage. You and Steel and Fire are going to have your own ideas as far as the underlying data structure.
I'll follow her lead on that one. She's had more time to deal with the data, and she knows where she's heading with it. So
yeah, well, if she hasn't got that far, if for some reason she's had a family emergency or whatever, and she wants you to take the lead on it, go ahead and go with your data structure.
Yeah, I can't promise the code's going to be fantastic if I go with.
I don't care about, what I'm saying, fantastic code at this point. I think we want to just get to this point of data entry and tracking the member that puts in the data entry. As long as we can track who put in the data entry point, we can reward that person with membership points later on, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's the key. And if the pages are somewhat consistent, great. If they're a little bit screwy, whatever, but then we'll come back and we'll have Anders or somebody that's a graphic artist that knows PHP and JavaScript and come in and pretty up the whole thing on a fucking an alternate a site, and then he'll present it to us and we'll say, Anders, that looks like shit, go back to the drawing board. You know what I'm saying? But then we'll move his fucking code over once it looks nice, you know?
Yeah.
And we'll get a fucking database here that people can start using and searching, you know, not probably by the end of this month, but I think by the end of next month we could have a data set. This would be great.
I reckon if we were to sit and work on it straight 1 evening, 2 evenings, we could get that much of it done. Input is pretty easy.
I think so too. You know, and I'll definitely volunteer to do data entry. And we've got, you know, people that are messaging me. Some of the things that you guys see in the Discord server, there's not a lot. I get so many fucking private messages. Man, I want to do this. I want to do, what can I do? What can I do? I said, just hold on. We're not ready. But based on what you're telling me, it sounds like you could do data entry for us. So we'll get back a hold of you as soon as it's ready. And I would just love to see the data flowing into this thing. And then, you know, at the end of a month of data entry, having people, the big YouTubers come in and look at this and saying, this is fucking cool. I can find what I'm looking for and mark it for a project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what would be useful in the meantime is if you could go through that list of people who've been messaging you and wanted to do things, get their basic info, and we can pre-populate the database with their info ready to go, so they can log in straight away and get going.
Yep.
Just give it CSV. Easy.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's going to be great because I personally, when I try to do any kind of YouTube content, I'm like, God damn it! I know that I saw that in a fucking I don't know, a Sargon video or, you know, wherever, but I knew it had to do with libertarianism, but well, with these tags, I could say, with a SQL search, I could say Sargon, libertarianism, and boom.
Yeah.
I'm going to find that fucking video quickly. So, all right, I think we're going to close it out now. Thanks for, we've got like 8 people watching, including Bering for a while. So check with us in a month, everybody, and we should have something really, I don't know, exciting for you to take a look at.
Cool.
All right, I'm going to end the stream.
All right.